All right, it is time. This infinite investment game. I'll talk about alternative investments and collectibles in general. So one of the issues. Well, first, before I even go in this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and please share this with as many people as possible. And also let me know what videos that you want to hear from me or hear me talk about, or interested in my opinion. I understand a lot as far as history, macroeconomics, and also I just understand a lot of the history when it comes to collectibles. I've been reading a lot of books. So a lot of patterns seem to repeat themselves. There are some differences. The technologies may be different, the clothes may be different, but people seem to make pretty much the same actions, and they're still the same kind of actors. So I want to talk about mass-produced scarcity and how people are buying stuff that you think is rare, but it's not. At a certain point, and I think people need to figure this out for whatever collectible that you're buying. At a certain point, people kind of realize that stuff like this is collectible. A lot of companies may produce an item and they don't really see it as collectible. They're just trying to, produce it to sell a product, to make money, to kind of create demand for it. They're not really thinking about long-term demand, as long as they're really just thinking about new stuff. They're not really thinking about, keeping the old stuff relevant and people still wanting that and creating a secondary market. At some point, people realize that they want to do that. So for sports cards, for example, for basketball cards, that probably wasn't really a thing to 87, 88. So most of those cards, more so than the past cards, are going to be more likely to be worthless and not worth anything, especially by 89. We call it junk wax era sports cards, 88, 89 to 94, for example, where people are mass producing just everything and trying to trick people. It's collector's edition and all this and signatures and this and this and that. And people buying this stuff, and they say, oh, it's going to be worth so much money, and it's worthless. And that's the issue. That's a thing that's same with Pokemon cards. Eventually, kind of people thought, hey, Pokemon, people's a big secondary market for it. Let's start making collector boxes. And for example, with Charizards or Pikachus, and I think Yu-Gi-Oh's done the same thing with Egyptian God cards, re-releases and different kite types, stuff like that. Exodia, Blue Eyes, Dark Magician, stuff like that. Sports cards have done this. And sports cards is even more insidious just because you have all these parallels. When you have the base cards, and you have all these different sets of cards, and then you have these different tiers now where you have low, middle, and high end. But then you have kind of low mid end type stuff and then mid high end type stuff. Give you an example. Immaculate is high end, right? National Treasure is high end, Flawless high end. Opulence is kind of like the high end product that no one really talks about, but it's more kind of a little bit more mid tier, but still kind of high end. But also you have Noir is kind of in between that. Impeccable, you can argue, is in between that. And you can argue that, status and some of these other cards are that way as well, where it's maybe more low end, but kind of mid end in a sense. I think as far as inserts, blank slates, for example, is like a low mid tier type of insert. And, you just have all this stuff. You have all these parallels that are non-serial numbered, and they're making more and more, but then you have all these extra serial numbers that they're adding, all these extra numbers, and then multiple releases of the same type of serial number. So you have it for select, and for select is more insidious because you have courts, let's say basketball, courtside, premier, concourse, football, you have field level, premier, and concourse. Baseball, they have all this other stuff: Topps Chrome, Topps Sapphire. You do have the paper product Topps. You have all this other stuff. You have Bowman Chrome, stuff like that. And then you have so many Topps Heritage, all this other stuff that they're making. So you have all these serial numbers that they're coming out with, and then you have patches. So then you have not even event worn patches that are in these cards now. Then you have event worn packages of a signing or something. They just wore it for something, a photo shoot. Then you have game worn, but then they kind of make it where they have maybe more playoff or finals game worn patches, and then you also have autographs that they're putting in there. So you have sticker autographs and then you have on card autographs. Um, and then I think for some stuff like Swimsuit Edition cards or Diva cards or like WWE Diva cards where they have, I believe the kiss, like the lipstick, like I guess they kiss a slate or whatever and they sign it. You have that as well. You have the sticker and you have like the actual on the card kind of a thing. This stuff is not very rare, especially probably since 2019, in a sense, 2020. Anything made from here on out is not going to be rare. You're speculating with these people, even soccer cards. They're mass producing soccer cards now. This stuff isn't investments. It's not going to be investments. Like we were talking about 0.1% of stuff. They better be the best ever or one of the best ever, top 5, popularity through the roof. People around the world, regardless of country, want to invest in them. Like you better have like Nigerians want to invest in like Christian Pulisic or somebody, like for them to actually have value. And I think that's the thing that people aren't really thinking about. Like you have these things end up becoming bad investments. They're great short-term speculation. I don't know how long this is going to last. I was to give it a couple years, but this is a serious issue that I think people aren't looking at as closely. And even when it comes to, let's say, Luka Doncic, I think there is like this mass-produced scarcity. And I do think he has to win multiple titles and win multiple MVPs for the demand for his cards to maintain. Jason Tatum, people are talking about him as well. For example, for basketball, Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto for baseball, football, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. These guys are going to really have to like shock people. And I think it's hard to shock people when people are already very high and assume they're going to win multiple Super Bowls and win multiple MVPs, which may not happen. And it may not happen when you think it will happen. Maybe it'll happen, but maybe it'll happen much later in their career. So I think that's part of the issue that people aren't really thinking about. And the other thing is a lot of these newer cards that people are getting into, it's problematic. And the reason why it's problematic is because there's not like a long-term collector's base that sustains a lot of these prices. So some of these prices are going to decrease just because people are like, oh, it's a long-term investment. And most of the people who are holding this stuff are saying it's a long-term investment, but they've only been in for a couple years. And, these quick hands, short hands, or fickle hands, and they're going to really hurt the sports card market. And they're going to draw out, and it's going to be a domino effect when people are going to start panicking. It's like, I thought that was an established market. If that happens in this market, what's going to happen in the market I hold? And they're going to liquidate a lot of stuff. And I think that people shouldn't panic, but I think a lot of people are holding things as investments, and they're not investments. So if you disagree, please comment below and let me know what you think I should be talking about or hear my opinion on. Please like, comment, and subscribe.